Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Bannon or Earthview Prime here, and I'm the site super moderator for Avatar The Last Airbender Online.com, the Avatar fan site, and I'm here today to bring you the episode commentary for episode 204, The Swamp. And this is the fourth episode of season 2, and what's interesting in this episode is that we get Aang has been tasked with finding a master of neutral Jin to be his earthbending teacher. So we sort of get the feeling that like season 1, this is going to be the whole season is going to be about him learning earthbending. But instead, we find out pretty much this person is going to be his teacher. In this episode, it's kind of not said, but it's kind of hinted at. We meet that person in Toph in the next episode, and then it turns out that the Bossing Say storyline is the kind of main one for Aang and Co. But in terms of story, it's Zuko's kind of story that kind of carries the show for the early episodes of season 2. Because Aang's is kind of very character focused. Aang and his friend's story is very character focused. And then we see the smoothness of Iroh there, flirting with absolutely anyone he can. And then Zuko is absolutely embarrassed and kind of sort of ashamed of himself that he has to resort to begging to get food. This is kind of what he has to learn. He's been banished from the Fire Nation. He has kind of, in cutting off his kind of ponytail in the first episode of season 2, he has kind of separated himself from the Fire Nation royal family. So he sort of feels like he's still privileged when he has to as kind of Iroh will mention, he just has to get on with life as kind of like he's just a normal person. And then we saw Iroh's amazing song, Girls of Bossing Say, kind of showing that he's been here before, that he knows some stuff about it. And this music kind of sets up something mysterious is happening straight away. They're just kind of bored, flying along. Aang kind of looks down, sees something. And then we see they're drifting down. Aang kind of doesn't notice. Aang's in a trance. The swamp is calling to me. Aang thinks he wants to land here. But then you just sort of this is sort of a mystery. It's not really answered. Why they get sucked down into the swamp? Is it just a random kind of like tornado that they get hit with? But what is it actually calling to Aang? Is it just the kind of magic, kind of spiritual qualities of this kind of or is the tree that granted Hugh enlightenment that is kind of calling to Aang to learn this lesson that everything is connected? That's sort of how I explain it to myself. It is just kind of like a random tornado that comes in. Aang using his airbending to kind of protect them in the kind of tornado, the spiral of air. Like he's a powerful airbender, but like they cannot kind of beat nature, really. And this episode kind of echoes the story in The Lost Adventures Divided We Fall. I believe that happens like a bit after they get. Toph is with them in that story, so it happens after that. So you presume it's around this area again that they get stuck down. The way they've all fall to the ground and they kind of separated again. Where is the elbow leech? And and then the mystery that's set up throughout this episode that the tornado disappears. It does kind of make you wonder: is it random or what is it? And I love the way that there's the kind of first split up is like humans and animals. You know, the kind of buddy team, Appa and Momo, big and small. Appa realizes he can't fly here, or is just going to get trapped every single time. And then the kind of sound effect for the for Sokka swiping through these plants, it's so kind of clear that you instantly get the fact that like these are kind of brutal strikes through the plants. He's kind of like killing the plants. He shouldn't be doing it here. It's a mysterious place. It was calling to him. You shouldn't wreck the place. Something's going to happen. And then we see is we don't know yet that this is just Hugh kind of using his kind of plant bending. That this is kind of like the foggy swamp tribe, waterbenders. We sort of begin to think: is this kind of swamp alive? Swamp gas. And just that little bird that just has this vicious scream. It's just amazing. These animals. Sokka once again just wrecking the place with that machete. Complete disregard for nature from Sokka. And then you kind of wonder what that light was. Was it just a bug that lights up, or was it something more? So much mystery in this episode that is not fully explained. When they see the kind of visions in the swamp, you sort of, oh, it's one of those sort of things. If anyone has seen Star Wars, the Mortis trilogy, that sort of thing. There's visions. It's kind of unexplained. And again, we see this kind of moving tree thing approach them. You're like, oh, the swamp is alive. You don't know yet, like, that's the person. And just a massive kind of moment, like from a horror movie, of like, they're, that the tree wraps around them and it kind of waits for a while, and then suddenly they're pulled apart. This is the kind of second separation of the episode. The humans are separated from the animals, and now the humans are all separated. We see Katara's like skill as a master waterbender there, with the quick cuts that she would never be able to do in the first episode. Aang using his airbending to assist his movement here, getting away from the letter found out Hugh. Yeah. Do and so. I mean, they later found out that these are waterbenders. And this is like the third water tribe, Foggy Swamp tribe. On their Foggy Swamp style. I just love saying Foggy Swamp. Foggy Swamp. Cat Gator. And then we see Appa just kind of like fighting animals. Kind of showing that Appa is like a big beast in the Avatar world. There's very few things that can stand up to the power of a sky bison. Probably only like dragons or badgermoles can. And here's the kind of first vision. Katara sees the thing that kind of sort of defines her story, her kind of big emotional thing. Her mother. She knows her mother's died, but just the kind of sadness. Like she thinks she's seen it, and then it's only a tree, and she just kind of feels like she's been tricked. Hope would come back, and then just kind of snatched away. But just kind of defining that's what Katara wanted to see. We know that she's thinking about that a lot. And then we have Sokka's vision, which you sort of begin to think like, is it? Oh, we know. Wait, that's not real. We see Spirit Yue as the Moon Spirit, and we know that Sokka feels guilty for not saving Yue. Like what he sees here is how he thinks Yue thinks of him. He thinks that Yue thinks that he didn't protect her. Wow, I don't know if I said that right. I think I did. He thinks that he said that did. But again, Sokka kind of not really affected by it because he doesn't believe in this sort of thing. He thinks he's just kind of tired. And here we see, the flying kind of pig thing, and the thing of the main kind of crest of the Beifong family, and Toph. And Aang's just the kind of more mysterious one. Like judging by what Sokka and Katara saw, you think that Aang might see maybe Gyatso, his people, and something like that. And then just the thing that like everything tastes like possum chicken, when like you might say here in the real world that everything tastes like chicken. Just loads of little references, and the fact that Momo Momo does understand some human speech and knows that like they are threatening. And here's kind of the big kind of reveal that these people can waterbend. It's kind of an unusual style. Like must be absolutely a killer on their back and shoulders, just kind of swinging their arms around like that. You can see Aang's vision stays here the longest, as he's kind of the most spiritual one, being the Avatar. His vision leads him somewhere, leads him back to Katara. And this is the way they kind of all annihilate each other by just kind of smashing into it. Saga talking about tea parties. And then the kind of big moment of like Katara reveals that she saw mom, and that how her mom that and that how that affects Sokka. He pauses for a second, and Aang knows how much he cares. And then Sokka admits that he saw Yue, but immediately dismisses it. The center of the swamp, the big kind of tree, and you sort of get this aspect that there is something spiritual to do with this tree. Like I want to know what is the kind of protecting spirit of this forest, this swamp, no, this swamp. Heibai was the kind of black and white spirit, was the protector of that forest in that episode. But who protects this one? That spirit kind of might be behind what happens in this episode. And here we're introduced to that thing that's been following them. And the fact that it's wearing a mask makes us believe that yes, there is someone inside this. And like in this fight, we see some kind of really kind of deadly bending moves here. You know, Sokka hacking away at this thing with his machete, doing damage. But then we saw Aang kind of cut the arm off it there with some airbending, showing us that like you can kind of make scythes out of air, kind of cut things with airbending. Like imagine you did that to kind of like a person. We see Katara can like do lots of cutting with her bending. Just an interesting fight, in that like this is like one of the kind of first kind of humans against non-human fights, really. Like it's like Aang and Ko against a monster, and like it's still choreographed very well. And it's interesting that like Do, Tho, and Hugh all come back for the invasion. Like how like Do and Tho really don't meet like the humans, Sokka, Katara, Aang, until like the very end of this episode. Yet they're willing to join the invasion. And we see that for the most part, that airbending kind of lacks kind of major finishing moves, as kind of evident in this fight. You know, like it takes a lot of power to make like an air blast kind of cut through stuff. But like Katara can make these kind of sharp ice discs. She can shoot jets of water really hard. Aang's is more kind of a kinetic kind of blast, like sending people flying. Yeah, fire can burn, earth can crush, but air kind of pushes. And here's some really lethal kind of moves from Katara. Like if one of these went straight through the center, like Hugh would be like chopped in half. Like right that one, like that. How did that not go through? Kind of Hugh. He was obviously looking out through the mask. It was all a misunderstanding after that massive fight. It's like it's just really they all just decide to follow him. It's just a bit weird. I realized, yeah, that's why he was stalking them. Nothing missing about it. Ever the skeptic. And we get that Hugh reached enlightenment. Like he's one of the only people that we see to learn to reach enlightenment. And we get this kind of deep theme, this kind of life lesson to learn. One living organism, everything connected. And Aang learned something as the Avatar. If you listen hard enough, you can hear everything living, breathing. And then most people don't look like it. All branches of the same tree is just such a deep kind of quote, and like tells you all you need to know about like what like the world should be like. Everyone should kind of have understanding of each other. Time is illusion, and so is death. You know, like Aang saw something from his future. Katara saw something from his past, as did Sokka. Death is an illusion because, like, you always have your memories. They'll always be with you. And we see how, like, Aang, as the Avatar, has a deep connection to kind of like the world, all life, and he can, like, tap into this and locate, like, Appa, Momo. It's an interesting ability here, and can he only use that because of the swamp and the kind of special properties of the swamp? Or could he, like, just kind of touch the ground anywhere and locate anyone? Because everything is connected, as you mentioned. You sort of have to believe that there's something kind of, as Hugh said, there's something mystical about the swamp that allows him to do it there. And then here they're both waterbending. And they're both like, hey, you're a waterbender too! And then, like, we're Kane, and Katara's like, who is this guy? And we see that they all know each other. It's just like, such, like, these kind of moments where, like, you just realize, like, oh wait, this was all a misunderstanding. Sorry. Old Slim the cat gator. the one animal Sokka can't really charm Old Slim. And, like, Qatar didn't know that there were waterbenders outside of the northern and southern tribe. And they didn't know that there were waterbenders outside of the fucking swamp tribe. Nothing strange going on. And then Sokka's just like, oh no, we were just hungry. He thinks he's hallucinating still, and he just, like, chomps down on that giant bug. He's just like, he believes in the Avatar now because Aang's right there. That's Avatar stuff. And then, like, you do get this kind of weird thing about, like, where did the tornado come from? As I mentioned a few times before. I did see the swamp, like, the bird comes back, and, like, we presume that Hugh did not, like, smack that bird. So you kind of get the feeling that the swamp is alive. Maybe the swamp was responsible for the kind of tornado hurricane thing. Blew spirit back, and, like, we now know it's Zuko, and that was the guy who was kind of rude to Iroh before. Zuko, that's how much he respects his uncle. Anyone who disrespects his uncle, he will kind of fight. So the next episode is 205 Avatar Day, and I really like this episode. Some people, a lot of the fandom, kind of are not as big a fans of this episode as maybe I am. I really like it, but like, I'm a big fan of the Great Divide, so that's just me. I think it's one of the kind of funniest episodes of Avatar. It's just brilliant. So I'll see you for next time for that one.